guys. Thank you. Welcome to Living Right with Dr. Ray. I'm Ray Guarendi, and I hope for the next hour or so we're going to help you live right. Jam-packed show. We got our favorite, Father Larry Richards, is coming in with some catechism wisdom, and a psychiatrist, after my own heart, Dr. Lee Reynolds. Now, when you got two shrinks on a show, you think you got enough shrinks. No, no, no. We got a real child psychologist coming in, Dr. Esther. You'll appreciate Dr. Esther. We're going to take some questions. We're going to do some role play. You're going to find out what happens if, I don't think anybody in here has a kid like this. What happens if your child ignores you? I wouldn't suspect, but that's just an interesting sort of scenario you might imagine happening. There's a cardinal law of discipline. If you talk 200 to 400 words a minute with gusts up to 800, you are throwing ping pong balls at the hull of an aircraft carrier. This is not the organ of discipline. If this is what you use, close it. If it's not backed up, you just have a tendency to get loud and nasty. My mother would start. I'd be in the backyard, oblivious to her trying to get me in the house for supper, when the torrent of words would begin. Raymond Nicholas Guarendi, how many times are you going to make me call you Buster? You know, buddy boy, you seem to think I talk just to hear myself talk. You seem to think I like the sound of my own voice. Well, I'm going to tell you something. You better listen, and you better listen good, because I'm not going to say it again. I was not put on this earth to serve you. There are 5 other people in this house. You can evolve our schedule around yours. You can waltz and plop your bucket down when you're darn good and ready. I'm hungry. Feed me now. And I'm going to get up from what I'm doing. You got another thing coming, Buster. You mark my words, there's going to be some changes around here, because I am sick and I am tired. I have just about had you up to here. You don't realize how good you got it. You're going to find out, because I'm going to tell you something else. I am not, you look at me when I talk to you. Don't you look at me like that. I never moved. She wasn't mad enough yet. My mother's philosophy was, if the first 30,000 didn't get you anywhere, double it. You think you got it tough? I am going to tell you what tough is. When I was a little girl, I used to walk 18 miles uphill both ways to school in a foot of nuclear waste with no shoes. We had one pair that glowed for 14 brothers and sisters. My turn only came around every 2 weeks. I always gave my turn away. That's the kind of girl I was. I got up 5 o'clock in the morning, 2 hours before we were even allowed to go to bed. But a cornflake for breakfast with 8 brothers. Carried them to school on my back. And you want to know something? I was grateful for what little I had. What'd you have, Mom? Nothing! Weren't you listening? But we were happy children. What are our kids going to tell their kids? 550 channels, that's all we got when I was a boy. Used to have to make your sister go find the remotes for her when I was a boy. Only had 9 of them. Power button's up at the top. You had to stretch your thumb there, get that top power button. Sometimes you hurt stuff right in there, you know. Bah. I remember one winter, got so bad, after my mom done shoveling the driveway, she only made it halfway up the walk before she collapsed. I had to step over her with my hot chocolates. I spilled some right there, thought about suing her. You're banging words off the hull of an aircraft carrier for all the impact you're having. If those words are not backed up with a consequence, telling the child, this is what I'm going to do, oh, you might as well just send him off into the stratosphere, because he's not going to say, Mother, were you speaking to me? Why, yes, of course, I'm ready to listen. If you put another 40,000 words on top, I think I'll respond. Now, you saw how my mother responds to my ignoring her, and how she responded to my father ignoring her. We took our cameras, with permission, into the home of your basic dad, mom, husband, wife. This guy is not real bright. Let's see what he does. apparently, the only thing I can figure out, she doesn't like popcorn. It's the only thing I can figure out. Other than that, I mean, she tripped over a shoe, but like I always say, honey, look at that. The kids left their shoe there. All right. Let me see who might react to this. Can I ask your name here, ma'am?
Hi, it's Sue.
Hi, Sue. You saw the guy?
Yes, I did. Isn't that typical, though?
Well, what would you have done, Sue, if your husband came home, you've been all day working hard, and did that?
I probably would have put his shoe in the popcorn.
Shoe in the popcorn. With my cooking, the popcorn would have tasted better.
I mean, if Mama ain't happy, nobody's happy.
And
she just has to let that.
Is he clueless?
I'd say.
He's clueless.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's selfish.
Selfish?
Yeah.
What should he have done?
Well, other than just saying, hey, baby.
He didn't say hi to her. He didn't kiss her. He didn't do anything.
Well, you know, isn't that typical?
And then later on, he's going to go, Are you in a bad mood? And then she's going to say, if you don't know about what, I'm not going to tell you. Thank you, Sue.
You're welcome.
All right. This is one of my favorite parts of the program right here. This is where I take questions from you folks. Typically, I ask that the questions be in true false because I'm better at those. However, many of you are doing short answer essays these days. I'll do my very best. So, who do we have for questions? Sir. There you go. Hold that mic up there. Your name, sir?
I'm Rob Heron.
Hey, Rob.
Dr. Ray, I'm in my internship at Pathway Caring for Children. It's a foster care agency. We have a lot of kids, and we have a lot of ethnic backgrounds. Is there any thing you could tell me to help the kids in a multi-ethnic background with their families, or new foster kids or new adoptive kids that you would find interesting to help?
Sure. I have 10 children. That's why I'm here. It smells better here than my house. I have children of diverse backgrounds. My 10 children are all blessings through adoption. We had that question many times. First rule of thumb, and I'm paid to say these kinds of brilliant things. A kid is a kid is a kid. That's the first rule of thumb. Second rule of thumb, that child, no matter what skin color, no matter what background, is my son or my daughter. Second rule. Third rule, I guess I always have to ask, what does it mean to keep a culture alive? What does that actually mean? My son is in my home. My culture is his culture now. So, are there things that he might be curious about? Of course. And I would be open to that, just like I'm going to be open to anything any of the kids ask. But if we start out with this idea that somehow you're different from me because your skin color's lighter or darker, that is shaky, thin ice, parental beginnings. Okay, what do we got? We got one more here? One more question? Young lady, you look like people do when they're in philosophy class in college, where the prof says, am I really standing here? And you're going, your first name?
My name's Julie.
Hi, Julie.
Hi. Yes, I have a question about, I have a goddaughter. She's my sister, she's my niece, my sister's daughter. And my husband's the godfather, and my sister, she kind of like just dropped the religion, and I'm worried because she didn't get my nephews, they didn't make their confirmation, and I'm upset about that. But my niece, I've been told I have a responsibility if the parents drop the ball on this.
Well, see, Julie, there's two prongs to this question, really. The one prong is, what is my moral responsibility if the parents are not raising the child to know God? Okay, that's the first prong. Obviously, your moral responsibility is to stand beside and behind that parent to help that child be raised in the ways of God. Here's the problem. If the parent goes like this, you're stuck. Okay, in some respects, you're paralyzed. What you can do is you can do the old subtle stuff that relatives do when their birthday comes along. You're the aunt that gets them a Bible. Everybody else gets them a video game. Dueling clouds. You get them the Bible. Or you're the one that says, hey, we got this activity going on at the church. You want to go with me? Okay. Do they have donuts? I think that's part of what you can do. But in terms of going up and over top of the parents, that's tough. You have no reason to feel guilty. I think that's the big question. You have no reason to feel guilty. Now, this is one of my favorite parts of the program. I don't suspect anyone in here has a child like this. Think of the neighbor kid if you have to. You know a child who doesn't listen. You look like you are just itching for your big Hollywood debut.
Yes, I am.
All right, your name, dear?
Andrea.
Andrea, you're going to be my mom.
Okay.
I'm your 15-and-a-half-year-old dragging feet son. I'm on, what do they call, Facebook? Is that what that's called?
Facebook.
Facebook,
Yeah.
okay. I knew it was one of those things.
I'm 80. You're younger.
All right, I got you. Now I'm out in the computer room, and I'm doing my Facebook thing, and I'm pretty happy. So don't bug me, all right?
Okay.
Okay.
Ray,
Ah,
can you hear me?
I got you, Mom.
All right, honey, it's time to stop with the computer because homework time is coming.
Okay, hey, you're right, Mom. Okay, I'll be right in there.
Okay,
Now,
hon.
a minute has gone by. I'm still here.
Raymond, did you hear me the last time?
I did, Mom. Yeah, I'm just finishing this right up. No problem, Mom. I'll be right in there. Thanks for calling me. I just got to let just this last sentence, and then I'll be done.
Okay, you have about an hour's worth of homework before
Okay,
bed.
I got it all, Mom. I'm ready to do
All right.
it. 30 seconds gone by.
Raymond Nicholas, your mother has been calling 3 times. Do you have any idea how tired of calling you I am and how late it's getting?
I know, Mom. Thank you. I know. I'll be right in. No problem. I'm coming. 10 seconds later.
Raymond, do you want me to send your dad in for you?
Mom, please, Mom, I'm almost done here. Come on, just give me another minute or two. It'll just take a minute. Mom, I got 2 hours to do the schoolwork, okay? 3 seconds later.
Raymond, Dad and I are both coming in. Get off the computer.
All right. Thanks, Andrea.
Sure.
Now, did you see how sweet I was? I wasn't defiant. Not at all. I agreed with her totally. And then I did exactly what I wanted. I was completely defiant. I was nice about it. That's where many parents get tricked. It's like, well, he's not being nasty. He's not getting ugly about it. No, but he's still defiant. How would you like it if you're an employer? Your employee comes in 22 minutes late. You're 22 minutes late. I know, geez, I'm really sorry. I am so sorry. Tomorrow, not going to happen again. Not going to happen again. It's tomorrow, 16 minutes late. You got to be here at 9. I know, you're so right, because you're very fair. You're a very fair employer, and you're absolutely right. I do need to be here at 9. You see what's happening? Very pleasant, quite defiant. That's where parents get trapped. I was sweet as sweet could be, was I not? I was totally ignoring her, and she was getting angrier by the minute. But you notice, and we'll talk about this, she didn't do anything about it. She got louder with more words, kind of like my mom. See what we got here. Who wrote us? Actually, these are actually emails here. I'm not making these things up here. Dear Dr. Ray, this is from Pablito. I have an 18-year-old daughter who is a freshman at a reputable secular engineering school. She has decided that it is fine to be out till 2 a.m. with her friends. I disagreed, saying that this is a dangerous situation that can lead to indiscretions. I tried and I review my talks with her regarding modesty, common sense, but she says she has a right to choose this and that we are very strict parents trying to snuff out her identity and my 2 other daughters, I assume the ones still at home, into submission. I became angry, threw a book at her, and that's probably what you should have done with me, Andy, and made angry pronouncements to kick her out of the house. Now I don't know what to do. Well, if you made an angry pronouncement to kick her out of the house, put yourself in a corner. Once they go away to college, you have to accept that you are limited because they can pretty much do what they're going to do. But here's the leverage you have. You're paying for this. So, as a result, you can set certain conditions. For example, if I find out that you have been going out, staying out, carousing out, partying out, all of a sudden the tuition can be on a sliding fee scale. It's going to start dropping. Or set the grades at a certain level. You're capable of straight B's. If you're not getting straight B's, something's going on. Something is interfering with your schooling. What we're going to do is we're going to reassess this at the end of this semester. And then I'll decide how much I'm going to pay for next semester, if anything. 2 levels. You got to accept you don't have quite the supervising power that you had. Second level is you still have enormous power. Power of the purse. All right, when we come back, a psychiatrist after my own heart, Dr. Lee Reynolds. This man, I have tremendous respect for him. Now, be very careful. You're going to have 2 shrinks sitting up here. That is a lot of shrinking power, okay? Some of you are probably going to get shriveled, all right? This will be a diet show. Thanks for joining us here on Living Right with Dr. Ray. Don't take off. You take off. Don't blame me if your kid's on some afternoon TV talk show someday. See you in a little bit.
Sometimes I'm like, that's not fair. I'm not supposed to get punishment. Like, how can you love me if you're giving me a punishment?
Oh, how can you love me if you're sending me to my room? How can you love me if you're making me do extra work?
I believe in God and I believe in life. And all problems don't stem from biological sources.
One of the worst things about being a psychologist is going to parties. Because if you go to a party and somebody says, "What do you do for a living?" I usually mumble, "I'm not honest." What? I'm not honest. You're a psychologist. Are you analyzing me? And then, of course, I put them at ease immediately by saying, "Why would you say that?" Well, this is scary because I have with me Dr. Lee Reynolds. He is a psychiatrist. You got a shrink here, a shrink there. This is just an enormous amount of IQ-raising power. Dr. Lee, how are you? Thanks
Hello,
for coming
Ray.
to the show. Now, you are a psychiatrist after my own heart. Absolutely. I love your style. I love the way you look at life. And your education and background is top-notch. You got your MD from Case Western Reserve.
Right?
You did your residency Harvard Medical School?
Correct?
Couldn't you pick someplace top-notch?
I'll try again.
You also ran a program that fascinated me when I first heard about it. Just give me briefly what that was.
It was the Massachusetts State Hospital program. In all states, there's a public system for the mostly mentally ill people. And this was a program that took the most sick kids from across the state.
State.
Yeah, 16 of the sickest kids, and they would stay there probably for 12 to 16 months.
You ran that.
Yes, sir.
What brought you here? Northeast Ohio.
Relatives.
Man's got to know his limitations.
Absolutely.
One of the things I so like about you and admire and respect, people routinely, lay people, you guys push pills. You get a kid coming to you, you got a 70% chance he's going to get a pill. What's the reason for all this? Why all these pills here? Are you guys just trying to control everybody through chemicals?
I think a lot of us are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think you are, though. From what I know about you, that's what I like. You do a broad assessment, and you are professionally quite cautious about that. Why?
I believe in God and I believe in life. And all problems don't stem from biological sources. And I fear that sometimes biological tools are used to mask other problems of the heart.
Would you ever talk about sin or wrong behavior with your clients?
Sure, all the time.
And they don't act revulsive.
The way I do this is that I advertise as a psychiatrist who believes in God. And I do not say that I am a Christian psychiatrist, Islamic, but I say that my faith is part of my practice. I will then share my faith as sessions go on, and clearly it's a Christian faith. And then if I listen to other people sharing their faith back, then I will start using the language of God.
And that's okay. You don't have people react to this. Generally, it's a positive reaction, something that is deeply valued for them.
Yeah, it's actually been heartwarming being in Ohio, because most families really yearn for that.
You notice the difference between here and the East Coast?
I do. I think the East Coast, they yearn for it. They just don't know that they're yearning for it.
Something's missing, but they don't know quite what it is.
Right.
You're in the same business I am. How many, ballpark figure, how many families, kids you see a year? 1,000?
3,000.
3,000. 3,000. Now, you're in a relatively small market. You're not in a major city. 3,000. Okay, that's a significant percentage of what is in that geographic area. So, like you see disturbed kids, behavior problem kids, conduct problem kids, emotionally struggling kids. Lee, what's going on out there?
I'll tell you my opinion. My opinion is that our society has done an injustice, not just to ourselves, but to our children. We are a society that looks to own more, gain more, be on top of more, and because of that, we don't have the time or the energy to devote to actually being present to our children and ourselves. I think what that means is kids are learning their values from a lot of different places, and we confuse the idea of freedom of access to things from the First Amendment to what is good for a child's health. And so that they see things on TV and they see images and they're sports stars, and the kids don't know how to separate out right from wrong. And then they go to school, and in school, there's so much going on. It's just, if you all haven't been to a modern school, it's almost worth a tour there, because there are cultures upon cultures going on, and it's very confusing. And for a kid to really feel like who they are and they can stand for that, it's very hard. They're getting kids teasing them all the time.
Okay, but here's what happens though. Psychiatry knows that they deal with the biological. So when you diagnose a child,
Yeah.
the child gets the diagnosis. Something is wrong with the child. Oppositional defiant disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, conduct disorder. The implication is internal to the kid is the problem.
I absolutely agree. For that reason, I'd say 75, 80% of the kids I see, I have the families in the room at the time we do that. I stay in touch with teachers. I sort of see it as a burnt cookie. My wife was making oatmeal cookies the other day.
You can't burn oatmeal cookies.
Oh, you can.
Oh.
But she didn't. I want to be very clear.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we can edit this out. No problem.
Yeah,
It's not a
okay,
problem.
good. Well, thinking back, I knew somebody who had a burnt cookie once. And when you get the burnt cookie, you're really disappointed because you're waiting for that warm, gooey cookie. And you look at it and you say to the cookie, how could you have turned out so badly? Now that poor little cookie went in there as this little piece of dough into that oven. It had no idea it was going to be burnt for its life. And in the same way, I think what we've ended up doing is another thing I fear is that we believe that we are God. We believe that we can draw cause and effect to everything. And if we just know more,
we can shape it.
That's correct. And so that we sort of have diagnosis treatment or diagnosis problem, and it just sort of flows oh so nicely. Pills grease that, because in medicine we're taught that you give a medicine for a specific condition. I don't just go down through the mall distributing penicillin. I would give penicillin to somebody who came to me and they had an infection that penicillin would help. So that's why doctors so much rely on diagnosis, as you well know. The interesting thing that's happened is in medicine, as we've moved from the early 1900s to now, is it used to be that you would have a physician come in and who would know your family, who would sit down, they would know the ailments of relatives and people in the community. They would listen to what's going on. They'd have a sense of what you do and what happened at church. And they'd take all of this in and try to help. Now, everything's built on a very short amount of time. I can't tell you how much time I spend with insurance companies. And the typical psychiatrist spends 5 minutes with a patient. I spend 20. But in that time, they make a diagnosis, and then it's real easy if you have that diagnosis to slide the medicine in and then feel good and say, come on back in a month.
The medicine treats the diagnosis when, in fact, you're saying there are multiple factors intertwined here.
That's correct.
Dr. Lee, we could talk a long time, you and I, shrinking together, although I felt my IQ being raised a little more. I think I drug yours down some, but mine was coming up a few points. Well, you got two grown-up shrink types here. We're going to talk to a real child psychologist. I don't think Esther has a PhD in psychology, but I bet she has a PhD in big family. So you have 4 brothers and 4 sisters. Mm-hmm. Of those 9 children, where do you fall on getting in the most trouble? Are you first? Are you third? Are you last? I get in the least trouble?
Probably first.
First! You think you get in the most trouble of the 9.
Yes.
How do you know this?
Well, especially with Miriam, my younger sister.
How old's Miriam, honey?
She is 7.
She's 7, okay.
Well, because every day I get in trouble with her, so.
Every day?
Yeah.
Do you think maybe it'd be better for Miriam to move out?
Yes.
Oh, you'd rather have her move out than you move out. You have seniority, right?
Yes.
You've been there a lot. So when you get in trouble, do you try to tell your mom or your dad, I didn't do it, Miriam was picking on, Miriam started it, I didn't do any of this, I'm being unjustly accused? How do you defend yourself?
Well, I kind of just blame it all on her.
All of it, the whole thing?
Yeah.
Every time? Does that work? Do they say,
I get in more trouble.
well, you should talk to your attorney and say, look, I'm telling the truth here. I've never done anything in all the years that Miriam has been my sister, and you guys don't believe me. How do you know punishment's love? Some kids will look at punishment and say, they're not loving me, they're just being mean.
Well, that's what they say.
That's what they say. They tell you they love you. But do you believe it?
Sometimes.
Sometimes?
Sometimes I'm like, that's not fair. I'm not supposed to get punishment. Like, how can you love me if you're giving me a punishment?
Oh, how can you love me if you're sending me to my room? How can you love me if you're making me do extra work? But then when you calm down, 2 hours, well, okay, calm down, 5 days later. When you calm down, do you then think, well, I guess they love me. I realize now.
Kind of.
Sometimes you think that the parents are just wrong no matter what. They just didn't do it right no matter
Yeah.
what. Even 10 days later when I'm totally calm, my parents didn't do it right, huh? So how do you decide when to believe it or not believe it?
Well, when I get over my punishment.
Okay, when you're off grounding and everything, you believe them again.
Yeah.
Who has the more definite punishment look? Where you can look at that face and know it's coming.
My mom.
Your mom? How does she do it? Can you make the face? Can you do it?
No.
You can't do it? All these years of watching? Oh, there it is. Okay, show me again. Look at me and show me that face again. Okay, all right, now I know. Is it me? Or Esther is 12 years old. Is there an unspoken idiot after everything she says regarding us parents? Is it me? Did I miss this? What strikes you about some of the observations that Esther has made? Comments, questions? What do we have? Give this over. Thank you.
I just feel when I look at her that watching her, she doesn't have a good self-esteem. Someone's made her feel inadequate, and she believes it.
You think so?
Yeah.
You know, she was just kind of yanking her parents around?
No, I felt that she really thought she was bad, and
So-
that made me sad.
Because she ranked number 1 there in the misbehavior charts.
Right.
Thanks, Andrew. Well, all I know, if I asked my 10 kids to rank themselves, every single one of them would rank themselves 10th. Other observations, comments before I ramble on, because I have much to say about this. You know, there is a young lady right there that looks about the same age as Esther. Young lady, would you stand up? Did you hold that there? Put it up there close, honey. How old are you?
12.
Now, you heard what Esther said about her mom and dad, and that pretty much they're wrong most of the time. Even when she calms down, they're still wrong.
Yep.
Is that the way it is for you as you look at things in your house?
Maybe. Probably. I don't know.
Maybe, probably, I don't know. I think I saw you testifying before Congress once. Thanks, honey. Did you notice the main problem there was sibling quibbling? You notice that? I always tell parents, if you have 2 children in a home, you're going to have sibling quibbling. I don't care if one of them's 26 and the other one's 2. There's going to be trouble. If you have 1 child in a home and you have sibling quibbling, you got serious problems there. Bad stuff. All right, what else we got here on comments? Comments or questions? Sir, stand up for us.
I don't think you know your parents are right until you have your own child.
It takes that long.
I think that's the way it goes.
Whoa, I don't have that kind of time. You have to experience this whole child raising scenario before you say, my dad knew what he was doing. Was it Mark Twain? Everything gets attributed to Mark Twain. You don't know. Everything is, E equals MC squared. Mark Twain. Was it Mark Twain who said, I was amazed at how much smarter my dad got from the time I was 18 to the time I was 21? It's an interesting thing. But if you notice with what Esther was talking about, she thinks that her parents are off track, and it's not necessarily just emotional. Now, whether she was playing up for the camera or whether she wasn't, her attitude was, I just don't agree with the way they're doing it. Wouldn't you expect that? This is a kid. How could a kid have the maturity to see this through the eyes of a parent? And that's the hard part. because we want to be appreciated. We want the kids to go, I hate what you're doing, Mother, but I'm so glad you're doing it. I feel so good. Let's hold hands, sing Michael Row the Boat Ashore around the campfire. More wisdom coming up on Living Right with Dr. Ray. We got Catechism Wisdom with Father Larry Richards. Hang around. He's as smart as Esther is.
The only thing that'll fill up our emptiness isn't our material goods, but it's love, and it's God's love.
When somebody doesn't apologize, very simple relationship. The less they apologize, the more insecure they are. Who has more wisdom about living right? The Catholic Church, as founded by Jesus Christ some 2,000 years ago, or modern, ever-shifting secular notions, oftentimes dominated by psycho-trendy, new and enlightened ideas. With me, as always, here on Catechism Wisdom, Father Larry Richards. He is pastor of St. Joseph's Church in Erie, Pennsylvania, as well as a very well-known speaker around the country, giving missions all over the place. Father, I gotta read you what the Catechism touches upon in many places, but I picked these two.
Oh, please.
Thank you.
What numbers are they?
Section 1723, quoting John Henry Cardinal Newman.
Wow.
All bow down before wealth. Wealth is that to which the multitude of men pay an instinctive homage. They measure happiness by wealth, and by wealth they measure respectability. Section 2536 says this: our thirst for another's goods is immense, infinite, never quenched. Thus it is written, he who loves money never has money enough.
You got that right.
Well, what is wrong with having money?
Nothing. And the scripture doesn't ever say anything about money's the problem. It says love of money. And that's what
if
the
I don't love it?
Catechism is
What if I
saying.
just want a bunch of money and I don't love it? I like
You
it.
love
I like
it. What
it a
are you
lot.
talking about? But the reality is that, again, Mother Teresa used to say people in India are so hungry that they would go up and pick up dog dung and eat it to fill up the emptiness. People all over the world are so hungry, they eat all this stuff that's empty and it just makes the whole inside bigger. When people are searching for money or greed, they're trying to fill up the emptiness inside. And what it is, it's fake. The only thing that'll fill up our emptiness isn't our material goods, but it's love, and it's God's love. And so what we can do is we can go and buy these things, and it's wealthy people commit more suicides than anybody else. You don't have the poor doing this because they know these things aren't where I come and where I get my worth. I get my worth not from what I own or what owns me, but I get my worth from God who loves me.
Why don't I just think that if I get to a certain point, I will be content? Isn't that what we all chase?
But again, everything you have and everything I have, everything that we see around us is not going to exist one day, huh? It's all gone. Everything, it's the whole thing about life. Everything you love will disappear. The people you love will disappear. The things you have will disappear. So if you have your worth or your treasure in things, you're always going to be afraid because that which you love can be taken away from you. But if you have your treasure in God and His love, then you will have great security because that can never be taken from you.
I'm going to have to give you another psychological study, none of which you've known anything about.
I haven't known anything.
I'm getting a little tired of...
Oh, your wisdom is unbelievable,
Thank you.
Doctor.
I appreciate you recognizing
There
it
you
only
go.
took you about 7 segments to finally get to that
I
point.
know, I'm stupid, sorry.
What folks proportionately give the most to charity? Rich, medium income, poor.
I don't know, Doctor, tell me.
You don't know?
I don't, I'm
Can't
sorry.
you guess?
I don't know what, the poor.
Absolutely.
See,
you
I'm
knew
smart.
that.
I
You
know,
knew
I
that.
know
You were
it's
just
hard, I know.
stalling for effect. The poor, proportionately,
Absolutely.
and you always hear this, well, we're a very wealthy country and we give so much to charity. There was a couple of guys who did a study. I think the book was called Who Gives in America? And one of the points they made was, it was on its head. The people with the least proportionately give them. Why would that be?
Because their treasure isn't in what they own. That's the difference. Sometimes wealthy people, their treasure is what they own. So poor people could easily give what they have.
So what do I do? Do I go get rid of all my stuff and I live in a pup tent?
No, but you must be generous. That's one of my biggest things. The surest sign of God's presence in a person is generosity. If a person isn't generous with their lives, with their time, with their things, with their money, I always say they haven't fully yet surrendered to God, because God, by definition, has surrendered everything to us. And if we're going to be in the image and likeness of God on this earth, we need to be people that surrender everything. And the best way to do that, I think, is when we have things, and again, I don't take a vow of poverty as diocesan priest, but what I got to do is have a poverty of spirit. And the best way to do that for all of us is to have our hands open and to let God give what he wants and let God take what he wants. It all belongs to him. It doesn't belong to me. And when we live this way, with our hands open and letting God give and take, then we can be content with what we have. And isn't that the real thing that we all want? Just to be content, no matter what we have, no matter where we are. To be content and to be at peace comes from surrender.
Society says the more you have, the happier you are. The Catechism says you get an inordinate attachment to your goods, your things, your wealth. You will never find peace. That seems to be the case. Coming from a psychologist's perspective, I've seen it over and over again. There is a phrase that says, "Show me your checkbook, and I'll know who you are." I oftentimes tell parents, you want to raise a more grateful, generous kid? First step, I used to say, get rid of 50% of the toys and goodies and perks that he has. I don't say that anymore. Most kids don't even miss 50%. I say 70 to 80. What happens is, and I notice this young lady over here who's 12 looking at me like, what? What? Who are you? Dr. Evil? 70 to 80. What happens? They learn to amuse themselves. They are much less attached to what they have. The more you have, the more you do this, even as little kids. Watch it with little kids. Third thing, you don't have anywhere near as much stuff to pick up. You don't have to go to confession every 3 days. Bless me, Father. I wanted to throw my kid up into the ceiling. Yes. Father Larry is a wonderful man. I know him personally. He is as God-seeking as he comes across. So, I imagine he has stimulated a few thoughts here. What do we have? You have the microphone. I'm really good at this. The person that has the microphone is the one that's going to talk. I'm learning this TV thing. Can you stand up, young lady? Yes, your name.
My name is Carrie.
Hi, Carrie.
Thank you for taking my question.
Sure.
My daughter is 12 years old in 7th grade, and she really hates to go to CCD. Do you have any suggestions on helping her go to Sunday school?
What is it about CCD that she tells you I want to avoid?
She just doesn't like to go, and she says she's not learning anything. And she makes up stories that other girls in the class are picking on her, and
Has this happened this year, or has it been building?
It's been building.
Been building. Okay. Well, the first thing, Carrie, non-negotiable, she has to go. All right. We're not even going to talk about that. I think what happens is when a child says, I don't like this, here's my reasons, you don't want to make me, I'll be unhappy, I'll just throw this all back up. What they do is they keep this turmoil going. Carrie, say, honey, we are not going to talk at all anymore about you refusing to go to CCD. That's not something we're going to talk about. Now, if you want to tell me some things about what it is there that you're unhappy about, okay, I'll listen to that. But none of this is going to convince me that at some point I'm going to go, ooh, well, those are pretty good arguments. I guess that's enough to keep you home. No. Also, you got to find out what exactly it is that she doesn't understand, that she's fighting to swallow. I find a lot of times with even 12-year-old kids, they got questions. They're afraid to ask them. And they're good, honest faith questions. Many people will tell you, when I was growing up, I didn't get answers to my questions. Nobody gave me those answers. Okay, one more. I'll get the mic here. Take this back to this young lady. Yes, your name, dear.
Julie Barkey.
Hi, Julie.
Hi, Ray. Hey, what do you do about grandchildren and Christmas presents and gifts? Because you got the grandmas here, they want to give the stuff, and they want to be...
They drive the Toys R Us truck up.
And it's almost, sometimes, you know, you feel guilty because, well, this grandma's getting them all this stuff. Well, I need to give them that stuff.
Oh, Julie,
So what
that
do we
is...
do?
Oh, what we tend to do is that we measure the quote-unquote grandmotherly love by the stuff. You know, my mom used to do this. My mom, seriously, God bless her, sweetheart of a lady, Mom. My mom used to write a check to each one of us children with the exact amount to make it even. So I'd get a check for $12.68 in a card because she spent $12.68 more on my sister. Of course, I used to lie to my sister. I'd say, I got a check for $1,200. Don't get into that battle, Julie. You'll lose. You be true to who you are. You get the gift that you want to give, and you know what's going to happen? I can almost guarantee this. What will happen is that your way will be appreciated in time. Initially, the little kids go into a ripping frenzy like sharks. But over time, more and more relatives are going to say, Julie's way's better. I don't like what we're creating here. Like I used to tell my kids, it's not your birthday. Thanks, Julie. Okay. Senior moments where we take email, e-persons. You know, you don't want to go, that again, you don't want to go patriarchal. Dr. A, I heard you on your radio show this morning. A lady asked why her husband of 30 years never apologizes. And I didn't hear your answer. Well, you're not going to get it now. You missed it. Could you answer that question for me? I happen to be married to a man for 30 years. He does not apologize for anything. Seems that it's always my fault or someone else's fault. All right, I'm going to get a little psychobabble on you here. When somebody doesn't apologize, very simple relationship. The less they apologize, the more insecure they are. It's that simple. If I'm not going to tell you I'm sorry, why? Because in my mind, I think, well, that would say that I'm inept. That would say she's right and I'm wrong. I'm not going to do that, okay? I'm not going to put myself in a one-down position, as the shrinks would call it. I ask people in my office, when was the last time either one of you apologized? Usually in a marital situation. Here's some of the answers I get. I think it was our wedding rehearsal dinner. When was the last time Halley's Comet went by? Was that like 75 years ago? Yes. A lot of times people don't apologize. It'll be thrown back in my face. I wasn't the one most wrong. You apologize for what you did. If you think in your mind I was 12% wrong, apologize for your 12% then. Okay? I don't know how to make spouses apologize, but I can comfort you with the thought that when a person doesn't apologize, they're telling you an awful lot about themselves. They're not telling you about you. Don't feel like they're looking at you saying, you don't deserve an apology because you're always wrong and I'm always right. I'm superior to you and that's the way it is. No. Just no. Now, you don't have to say it. Oh, you're really insecure. No, don't do that. You'd have to apologize for it. Well, once again, we're done. We're out of time. I got to do what I always do at the end of the program because you guys make the program. No, this is me. You're so well trained. Like a seal. Here's an M&M. I want to thank you. What did we learn? Well, we learned you speak 200 to 400 words a minute with gusts up to 800. You are throwing ping pong balls at the hull of an aircraft carrier. This is not the main organ of discipline. It just has a tendency to get loud and nasty if you don't back it up with something. Speak quiet, speak once, back it up. What else? Dr. Lee Reynolds told us, hey, Ray, we don't just go straight for a pill if we're going to practice wise psychiatry. We recognize, I loved his burnt cookie analogy. You don't blame the cookie for being singed around the edges. You say, wait a minute, I put the ingredients in there. Other people put the ingredients in there. I'm not going to get mad at the cookie. Great stuff. Father Larry talked about wealth. Don't let it be your God. It will pull you into emotional and probably religious quicksand. Watch out for that. So, until next time on Living Right with Dr. Ray, between now and then, you people think you can live right on your own? You think you can do this? All right. We have the talk show guarantee. Your kids, your grandkids will never be on an afternoon talk show. Thanks for everything. God bless. Bye. Next time on Living Right with Dr. Ray, find out why a child saying, I don't like you, is not always bad. A mother of 21 children is going to be here, 17 of whom are adopted. And get a bird's eye view of confession by little 8-year-old Augustine. Join us.